Hello Philexan family viewers, this is Scott.
This is Elby.
Alright, welcome back. And today's video is all about the next step that we take after I visited the Philippines and we decided to move forward with our relationship, bringing the kids and Elby to the United States. And that was to proceed with the K-1 visa or the
fiancé visa.
The fiancé visa, exactly. So if you're familiar with that or not familiar with it, what you're going to be doing at that point in time is filling out a form called an I-129F, which basically kicks off the petition. And as we said before in our videos, is that we're really not about talking about the whole process by detail and filling out the forms. There's actually a lot of good videos out there, and I don't really see the necessity to kind of reinvent the wheel there. But what we did want to do is talk about what considerations must you have when kids are involved in that process. And so now that we've made that decision, now we're moving forward with some pretty significant decisions to make, not only for Elby and I, but for the kids. And the process is lengthy. And so there's a lot of opportunity there to plan and prepare for that. So the first thing that we did in preparation was there was 3 things that we thought about doing, basically to facilitate making this process happen for us. And these are decisions I think a lot of people will think about, and so we're not endorsing any one of these. We're just telling you these are the options and what to think about. There are some visa services out there that will walk you through that process, help you with forms and so forth. Like an agency. And again, as I've said before, always do your research on that. I'm sure there's fees involved and cost and so forth. The next step is you can get an attorney. Again, there's cost involved with that, probably more substantial cost than using an agency, I'm not sure. But again, do your homework on that. Just don't go through and pick the very first immigration attorney you find. And then the other option is to do it yourself. And so your decision to follow any one of those 3 options is really based on your comfort level and potentially the complexity of your case. The fact that, I'm just somebody who's a very careful individual and kind of likes to make sure everything's done properly. I don't like surprises. And also just for peace of mind, we decided to use an attorney, or I should say I decided to use an attorney. Elby wanted to go at this alone, but I thought it was best. And so I did the research. I found a good attorney who helped us out. And I think for us, it was a good choice.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Yeah, it does help a lot. When you know that you have peace of mind that the forms are done correctly and that if anything comes along, you do have somebody there representing you. The downside of that is it does cost money. So if you're not in a position to afford that, understandable, but just that's the decision we made. If you're going to do it yourself, then the onus is on you to do a lot of research to make sure that you're filling out forms correctly. Be familiar with the process and so forth. Once you submit that petition, probably about a week to 10 days, you're going to get your first notice of action, which is basically they got it. Okay. And between Notice of Action 1 and Notice of Action 2, this is going to vary a lot based on time of year, where your fiance, what country you're located in. There's just so many things. So I'm just telling you based on what happened with us. We filed in February, which seemed to be a good time frame. I think between November and February is probably a good time to file. In between NOA 1 and NOA 2, typically, based on what we saw, again, things always change, probably anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Because there's all sorts of things that can happen during that time. Workloads can, affect that. If you get an RFE, that can affect that. But just know the key thing to understand is that while that is very stressful and nobody likes waiting, it is the perfect time to prepare. You have a lot of time to think about, several things that you could be doing to prepare your family coming to the United States. The fact that we had kids, we thought it was a good idea to talk to them and tell them, hey, here's what we're doing. and what to expect in the process. Know that, talk about medical, talk about, interviewing at the embassy, the plane ride back to the United States, what that's going to be like, what life might be like in the United States differently than the country that they're coming from. It's good to include them because if you wait to the last minute, it can create anxiety and stress and just a lot of questions. In between your Notice of Action 1 and your Notice of Action 2, which Notice of Action 2 is when essentially the USCIS has approved your petition and has forwarded it to the National Visa Center. Now what happens at the NVC is that's where they take that petition and they turn it into an official case and you're assigned a case number. Now, I will say this, once that happens, be prepared because things start to happen quickly. As soon as you get a case number, you're going to be, putting in your visa application. So if you have kids, it's not one visa application, it's one for your spouse and then one for each one of your children. So think about the cost about that and all the paperwork that's going to be needed. And then this is when you're going to schedule your medical, you're going to schedule your interview at the embassy. The second thing that I did was to start to build a network of people here for Elvie and the kids to be around. So I started doing some research on, is there a Philippine community here in the local area? And there was, and I got connected into them, and actually we set up some Skype calls between Elvie and some of the Filipinos that were living here. And that just helps, them know that when they come to the United States, you're not going to be completely alone. There's going to be, others that came here before them, and that certainly helps, don't you think?
Yeah, it helps because I feel like I belong here. I'm only the one who Filipino here in Texas. So.
Yeah, and other things too, like, are there any Philippine or Asian markets that you can go to? Because
for the food,
there's general items that you won't find in American grocery stores that you can get in Asian markets or Philippine markets. Restaurants, there's another thing. So we're fortunate in our area that we've got at least 3 to 4 Asian markets and 3 Philippine restaurants, and so that helps out quite a bit in terms of helping them adjust. Okay, the next thing is medical. If you're coming over, regardless of whether you have kids or not, you want to plan for your family because you want to set them up with family doctors. So finding pediatricians, dentists, optometrists, any of those things that they may need. The country that they may be coming from may not have the best medical care, and so now's a perfect opportunity to get those things set up and take care of things, when they get here, so that, they've got a good quality of life. The next thing is going to be very important, and that is if you're like me and you were living on your own for a while, you're used to a certain budget, right? Well, now you're going to be adding people to your budget, right? So, you have to think what's the impact of those number of people, on your electric, your gas, your water, and groceries, and your cell phone and data and internet cost. And so all those things, you need to start thinking about because it's really important to start budgeting for that now and being prepared for that. So that's just a few things that you can start thinking. There's many more. If you have questions about this, this is something where we definitely want to be able to offer, our input in terms of what we did. So please, if you got questions, put them down below. We'll be more than happy to answer those. We'd even be happy to follow up with, another video or even a live session for those people that are going through this with kids. So that's our advice on that. Now, the other thing that I would want you to think about, especially if you have kids, are what to expect when they get here. Coming to the United States or any other country for that matter is a pretty big adjustment. And for the kids going into schools and stuff like that, that they're going to be homesick and they're going to be missing their friends. So think about things that you can do for them, like set up Skype calls for them to talk to their friends back at home and help them acculturate into, the community and so that they can find friends of their own age.
Yeah, because the culture here, they're different from Philippines. So sometimes, the kids here, like, it's not the same as, the kids in, in the Philippines.
Yeah, guys, think about it. you've got two cultures coming together. You cannot ignore, the cultural differences that can cause things, to make people feel out of place or misunderstandings. And so the best thing you can do is to prepare people for that, and even prepare yourself for it. If you've ever traveled overseas, things are different, and the best thing for you to do is to kind of do the research, as I always say, but plan ahead and just be understanding of those differences and recognize when there might be some anxiety in play. School may actually be more challenging for them. So that's one thing that we found here in the United States was for our daughter, is that while she's doing really well in school, it is more challenging. And so my advice on that would be, let them adjust. Don't set expectations really high. I mean, obviously you want them to do well in school and pass their courses and everything, but let them adjust to the environment, let them adjust to the pace of school and what the expectations are before you have them get involved in a lot of activities or advanced programs, even if they're capable of doing it. I think that just helps with them adjusting. The other thing in terms of culture is language. If you're going to an area that doesn't have a lot of people, from the Philippines or whatever, country that your spouse and children are coming from, it may be that they're the only ones that speak that language in the school. So that's the other thing you have to keep in mind. I think it's very important that I don't want our children to lose their language or their culture. I want them to be proud of where they came from, and I want them to maintain that language. So both languages are spoken in the home. I'm trying to do my best to learn as much Tagalog as I can. I probably understand more than I can speak, but I think it's very important. In addition to the challenges of being in school, they may find it difficult to make friends. So some cultures, American culture is we can be somewhat very outgoing and open and wanting to know a lot of information, can even be perceived as somewhat aggressive or something, whereas other people can be somewhat shy, and so they may find it difficult to approach and make friends. So just keep that in mind and help them, to make friends.
Because my daughter is a shy type.
Yeah, but once she meets people, she's very good. It's just taking that first step.
Yeah, she don't want to, like she's the one who talks first.
Yeah. Oh, and one thing too about budgeting in school. This one really kind of blew me away.
Wow.
School supplies. I am amazed at the number of items that you need to get for school supplies. It's not just pencils and paper anymore. I mean, there must have been 100 items on the list that I had to go shopping for ahead of time, because our kids actually started 2 weeks late in school, and so I went and got all these things before. But also, it's not cheap. So think about, go do the research on the school and see what those school supplies are, and be prepared and start getting that stuff early, because it will catch you off guard. So those are all the things we recommend. It's certainly not a complete list of the things that we recommend. So again, if you have questions, please ask. All right, so before we go, William Wood and Anita from William Wood 731 site, we had a couple of videos back and forth. We're asking each other questions, and he had 3 more questions for us. Okay, so the 3 questions that William and Ernita had for us was, the first one was, what's been the toughest thing for Elvie and I so far? So I'll let you go first. What's been tough for you?
Well, in the first week, it's the time, it's opposite, because in Philippines it's 13 hours ahead or
12 to 13 hours, depending on daylight savings time.
Yeah, so it's opposite time, so I feel like I'm so sleepy in the day, and then in the night I can't sleep, and then in the midnight I feel hungry because it's lunchtime in Philippines.
Yeah, so time frame. And then what about the climate? You've been having
my face like starting to have a pimples, and then my hair is dry. So yeah, it's been a month before my pimples recover, and then my hair is still dry until now, so I don't know what to do.
It's just gonna take time. I mean, you've only been here for almost 7 months, right?
Yes.
So okay,
that's it.
So for me, I would say adjusting to the pace of life. I mean, you know, one thing is bringing a wife into your environment, but having two kids, you know, there's a lot going on, and so, you know, you can't plan for everything, and you just kind of have to play it by ear, and there's just a lot going on, and so, you know, over time you do adjust to it, but I would just say the pace of life, it speeds up.
Like every time you need to consider the kids. Oh yeah, I need, you know, what's going on. Like, okay, everybody prepared, but the kids are not yet. So
right. All right. The next question was, how did you feel about leaving the Philippines?
Well, it was tough because I have one parent already. It's my father. So, you know, it's a biggest fear to side. So yeah, but I know he's okay.
Yeah, and we keep in contact
Yes.
quite a bit, you know, through the miracle of Skype and
Yes.
Facebook and all those things. So not like being there, but still we're able to keep in touch. Okay, third question was, what do you like so far about being in the U.S.?
More peace of mind.
More
I mean,
peace of mind.
actually, no, because I feel like I have a freedom. I can do what I want to do. Like nobody can like see something about me. Like, you know, it's like no gossip here.
Yeah, so for those people who don't understand the environment, LB was kind of in the city and very close to her neighbors, and so there really wasn't much you could do without everybody knowing about it and everybody asking questions. Like when I would send like a Christmas card or a birthday card, everybody knew that she had a card, and they're all asking questions. So
not only that, like I'm feeling like, you know, on my back, you know, they're talking like, you know, a lot of you know, things happening to your life, like.
So now it's kind of,
you know that.
now it's kind of quiet and peaceful, and you don't have to worry about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that wraps up all the questions. And once again, hey, William and Arnita, thank you very much for, you know, giving us the opportunity to, you know, unite with your viewers, and we hope that ours get a chance to see you.
Yeah, and then they can know ours more better, like, you know.
Yep, and William, I just saw your most recent video, and I got to tell you, it's amazing how much you and I think not only about our lives in the Philippines, but just life in general. So I feel like I really relate to you know what you think about and the things you say. So let's keep in touch, and hopefully we can share our experience via YouTube. All right, guys. That's all we have for today. Be looking out for additional videos. So the next one's a really exciting one. We took videos of the very moment that LV and the kids walked into their new home in the United States for the first time. So we'll talk about that experience, and we'll get that video out as soon as we can. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and like. And if you got questions and comments, please put them below. We're more than happy to answer those. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Take it easy.